Thousands of years ago, people feared something they could not see. Not war, not disease, but a quiet feeling inside the mind that arrived without warning and never fully left. If you are listening at night, tell me where you are and what time. It is welcome to Dreamy Old Stories, where we tell slow and gentle tales from history, stories that calm your mind and help you fall asleep. The night is quiet, and the world feels far away. Somewhere, a small oil lamp flickers beside a clay wall, and the flame moves gently, as if it, too, is breathing slowly. There is no hurry here, no sharp sound, only the soft passing of time, like sand slipping through open fingers. You may imagine a distant past, long before bright lights and restless clocks, when darkness arrived softly and people listened more than they spoke. In that stillness, human thoughts wandered, sometimes calmly, sometimes uneasily, and sometimes into places that felt heavy without clear reason. Long ago, before the word anxiety was ever spoken, people already knew the feeling. They did not name it as we do now, but they noticed its presence. A tightening in the chest before sleep, a restless turning of the body on woven mats, a quiet worry that arrived without footsteps and stayed without invitation. Ancient hearts beat much like modern ones, steady most of the time, yet occasionally unsettled, as if sensing a distant storm beyond the horizon. In a small village of sun-baked earth, a man sits outside his home, watching the last color fade from the sky. His day was simple. He walked, he worked, he spoke little, yet as night grows deeper, a faint unease moves through him. There is no clear danger. The fields are calm, the animals sleep. Still, his mind circles gently, like a bird unsure where to land. He does not call this feeling by a name. He simply breathes and waits, believing it will pass, as many things do, across deserts and rivers, in lands separated by mountains and slow oceans. Others notice the same quiet disturbance. Ancient Egyptian scribes sometimes wrote of hearts that felt heavy and spirits that wandered without rest. They believed emotions lived inside the body like subtle winds, invisible yet powerful. When balance was lost, the mind could feel clouded, restless, or troubled. Priests spoke softly of harmony, of keeping the inner world as steady as the rising sun. And so people listened, hoping calm would return, like morning light touching the Nile in ancient Greece. Thinkers observed human feelings with gentle curiosity. They did not rush. They did not force answers. They watched. Some believed the body contained flowing humors, delicate forces that shaped mood and thought. When these forces drifted out of balance, the mind might feel unsettled, uneasy, or burdened by quiet fear. There was no panic in their explanation, only observation, as if watching clouds slowly gather and slowly part again. A philosopher might walk beneath olive trees, speaking calmly of inner storms that pass through the human soul without leaving permanent marks. Further east, in early Indian traditions, sages sat silently beneath trees, listening not to the world, but to the movement within themselves. They noticed how thoughts rise like waves and fall like waves, never truly staying. Uneasy feelings were not enemies, they believed, but passing visitors. A wandering restlessness of the mind, a subtle trembling of thought. They watched these feelings gently, without resistance, allowing them to move like wind through tall grass. And sometimes, in that quiet watching, the unease softened on its own. In ancient China, scholars spoke of harmony between breath, body, and the unseen flow of life. When harmony shifted, the spirit could feel unsettled, like a string slightly out of tune. There was no alarm in this idea, only adjustment. A slower breath, a quieter mind, a return to balance, as natural as water finding its level. They believed the human heart was not meant to remain perfectly still, but to move gently between calm and disturbance, like seasons passing without struggle. Night deepens. The oil lamp grows smaller. Somewhere, a distant dog barks once, then becomes silent again. And still, across time, ancient people lie awake beneath open skies, feeling the familiar stirring inside. Not danger, not pain, just a soft uneasiness, like a question without words. They did not fight it loudly. They did not analyze it endlessly. Often, they simply allowed it to exist, trusting that morning would arrive, and with it a quieter mind. In Rome, a tired soldier returning from long roads might feel restless even in safety. The noise of battle gone, yet echoes remaining somewhere deep within. Roman writers sometimes described a troubled spirit, a mind unable to settle, drifting between worry and weariness. They spoke of calm as something simple, a steady routine, familiar places, the gentle repetition of daily life. Not a cure, perhaps, but a comfort. And comfort was often enough. Through all these distant lands and slow centuries, one quiet truth remained. Humans noticed their inner unease long before they understood it. They felt it in silence, carried it through ordinary days, and watched it fade, then return, then fade again. Like tides, like breathing, like the steady rhythm of life itself. The lamp is almost out now. Darkness rests softly against the walls. Somewhere in that ancient stillness, a person closes their eyes, feeling both calm and slightly restless, both peaceful and gently uncertain. And time continues to move, slow and patient, carrying these quiet human feelings forward into the long, unfolding story of the mind. Morning arrives slowly, not with noise, but with a soft, pale light that touches the earth without asking. The same man who sat beneath the fading sky now wakes on his woven mat. For a moment, he feels nothing at all, only the quiet heaviness of sleep leaving his body. Then, faintly, the familiar stirring returns. Not fear, not pain, only a subtle tightness somewhere between breath and thought. He reases anyway. Ancient people often did. The feeling came, and they continued. Life moved, and so did they. In many early societies, unease was not seen as something separate from life. It was part of the human weather, like wind that sometimes arrived without warning. In Mesopotamia, scribes pressed symbols into clay, recording dreams, worries, and strange sensations of the mind. Some believed unseen spirits brushed gently against human thoughts, causing restlessness or wandering fears. Others believed the heart carried hidden tensions, knots tied by daily burdens. They did not argue loudly about it. They simply observed, quietly, as if listening to distant thunder that may or may not reach the village. The rhythm of ancient days remained slow. Water carried from wells, grain ground between stones, sandals brushing against dust. Yet within this calm movement, minds sometimes drifted into uneasy spaces. A mother watching her child sleep might feel a sudden worry, small but persistent. A farmer walking the same path each morning might feel a shadow of doubt, though nothing had changed. These moments were rarely spoken aloud. They passed silently, like clouds crossing the face of the sun, noticed but not held. Greek physicians continued their gentle observations. They believed the body and mind were not separate places, but one flowing system. If sleep was broken, if breath was shallow, if thoughts circled endlessly, then balance had shifted. The mind might feel restless, unable to settle into stillness. They described such states without alarm, like describing a river running slightly faster than usual. Some suggested long walks in quiet places. Others spoke of simple routines, calm conversation, warm baths, and steady breathing. Not as urgent remedies, but as ways of guiding the mind back toward its natural calm. Far away. In quiet monasteries of early Buddhist communities, monks noticed the same wandering unease. Sitting still for long hours, they watched thoughts rise and fall like ripples in water. Sometimes the mind raced. Sometimes it trembled without clear reason. They did not push these feelings away. They named them gently, then allowed them to dissolve on their own. A restless thought, they believed, was only a passing shape, never permanent, never solid. And in this slow noticing, fear often softened into something quieter, something easier to carry. In ancient Hebrew writings, there are soft echoes of troubled hearts and weary spirits. Words describing worry, heaviness, and inner disturbance appear like faint footprints across time. The response was often simple: stillness, faith, quiet. Trust in the unfolding of days. Not an attempt to silence the mind, but a way of resting within uncertainty. And sometimes resting was enough. The sun now climbs higher over ancient lands. Markets awaken. Voices rise gently, not hurried, not sharp. Yet even among crowds, individuals carry private moments of unease. A merchant counting coins may feel a sudden restlessness. A traveler crossing long roads may feel a quiet tension in the chest, as if expecting something unnamed. These sensations were not always feared. Often they were accepted as part of being human, like fatigued after walking or thirst under the sun. Roman thinkers, especially those who followed the slow philosophy of the Stoics, spoke calmly about inner disturbance. They believed the world outside could not always be controlled, but the inner response could soften. Uneasy thoughts were seen as natural visitors, not permanent residents. A person might feel troubled, yet still remain steady, like a tree standing through a gentle storm. They practiced quiet reflection, slow breathing, and the steady repetition of simple ideas, not to eliminate unease, but to make peace with its presence. Time passes. Afternoon fades into evening once more. Shadows lengthen across stone and sand. The same quiet cycle continues, day following day, thought following thought. And through it all, the human mind remains gently active, sometimes calm, sometimes restless, always moving in small, almost invisible ways. Across mountains, in early Persian traditions, there was also an awareness of the inner struggle between calm and disturbance. They believed light and darkness existed not only in the world, but within the mind itself. Yet this was not a dramatic battle. It was subtle, a quiet shifting, a slow movement between clarity and uncertainty. People prayed softly, walked slowly, and trusted that balance would return. Just as night always gives way to morning, now night approaches again. The oil lamp is lit once more. Somewhere, someone lies awake, listening to the faint rhythm of their own breathing. The unease is still there, though softer now, like a distant echo. They do not chase it. They do not name it. They simply remain wrapped in darkness, carried gently by time, as countless humans have been before, and countless will be after. And so the ancient world continues, quiet and patient, holding within it the slow, familiar presence of the restless. Human mind drifting gently between calm and unease, never fully still, never fully troubled, simply existing as it always has. The night settles fully now, deep and unhurried, like a soft blanket laid across the earth. The oil lamp trembles once, then steadies, casting a small circle of light that barely reaches the corners of the room. Beyond it, darkness rests, calmly, neither heavy nor empty, simply present. In this quiet, a human mind drifts once more, not seeking answers, not searching for meaning, only moving in its own slow rhythm, across distant lands. Ancient people shared this same silent companionship with their thoughts. In a quiet Greek town, a woman wakes briefly before dawn. The world is still, even the wind seems to be resting. Yet within her, something stirs, a faint uneasiness, soft and without shape, like mist over water. She turns gently, listening too, the small sounds of night, and waits. There is no urgency, only time, moving as it always does, patient and steady, in early Indian villages, long before sunrise. A farmer steps outside and looks toward the horizon, still dark and unmoving. He feels a weight inside his chest, not sharp, not overwhelming, just present. The sages had spoken of such moments, describing them as passing ripples in the stream of the mind. The farmer does not resist. He breathes slowly, watching the darkness soften into pale grey. And as light begins to return, the heaviness loosens, almost unnoticed, like dew fading from grass. In the quiet halls of ancient Chinese homes, a scholar sits beside a window of thin paper screens. The night air moves softly. His brush rests beside untouched ink. His thoughts wander gently, touching small worries, then drifting away again. He recalls the teachings of harmony, of balance between breath and spirit, of stillness within movement. The unease inside him is not an enemy. It is only a moment out of tune, soon to return to its quiet rhythm. Time flows on, as it always has, carrying human feelings across centuries without noise or announcement. In Roman streets, now silent beneath moonlight, a tired traveler rests against a stone wall. His journey has been long, his body weary, yet his mind continues its quiet wandering. He remembers simple words once spoken by a philosopher that troubled. Thoughts are like passing clouds, unable to remain forever. The traveler closes his eyes, and the night accepts him gently, without question. Across deserts, in the fading glow of distant fires, early Persian families gather in soft conversation before sleep. A young voice speaks of restless dreams and uneasy thoughts. The elders listen calmly. They do not rush to explain. They speak slowly of patience, of light returning, of balance that shifts but never disappears. Their words are not loud, not certain, only steady, like footsteps across quiet sand. And so, across these ancient worlds, people continued to live beside their unease, not fighting it, not naming it loudly, but noticing it, carrying it, and watching it fade. The human mind, even then, was never perfectly still. It moved gently, like water touched by wind, sometimes smooth, sometimes rippling, always changing. The oil lamp burns lower now. The flame grows small, then smaller still. Shadows soften along the walls, blending into the quiet darkness. Somewhere, a child turns in sleep. Somewhere, an old man breathes slowly, his thoughts drifting between memory and silence. And somewhere, a lone watcher remains awake, feeling that familiar stirring within. Neither welcome nor unwelcome, simply present. There is no conclusion here, no final answer waiting at the end of thought. Only the slow continuation of human awareness, moving gently through night into morning, through calm into unease, and back again. The ancient world does not end. It only drifts forward, carried by time, holding within it the soft, persistent rhythm of the human mind. And as darkness deepens, the quiet remains. The lamp fades, the night breathes softly, and somewhere in that endless stillness, another human thought begins, slow and silent, continuing the gentle story of the restless yet enduring mind. Morning returns without announcement, a soft grey light spreading slowly across quiet land. The night has passed, though its calm presence lingers like a fading echo. Somewhere, a rooster calls once, not loudly, only enough to remind the world. That time continues, whether noticed or not. And in this gentle arrival of day, the human mind awakens again, carrying both calm and the faint memory of unease. In ancient towns built of clay and stone, people rise early, not hurried, not restless, simply moving with the slow rhythm of life. A potter steps outside, the earth cooled beneath his feet. He feels a slight tension in his chest, the same subtle feeling that visits from time to time, like a quiet guest who never fully leaves. He does not question it deeply. He begins his work. Clay turns beneath his hands, slow and steady, and with each movement, his thoughts begin to settle, though not completely. Perhaps they never fully do, across the wide lands of Mesopotamia. The great rivers continue their endless flow, calm and patient. Along their banks, scribes sit with clay tablets, recording the dreams and worries of those who seek understanding. Some speak of restless sleep, of thoughts that circle without rest, of a heaviness that arrives in still moments. The scribes press symbols into soft clay, not rushing, not searching for final answers, only preserving what has been quietly felt. They believe the unseen world touches the human mind in subtle ways, and that unease may be part of this invisible movement. Like wind passing through tall reeds, in ancient Egypt, the morning sun rises golden over the Nile, steady as it has always been. Farmers walk through fields of green, their steps slow, their minds quiet. Yet even here, beneath the warmth of light, small worries sometimes appear, a thought about the future, a concern without shape. Egyptian healers once spoke of the heart as the center of feeling, a place where balance must be kept. When the heart felt heavy, they believed harmony had shifted. Their remedies were simple, gentle words. quiet rituals. The slow return to order, like the river returning each year to its banks. Far away, in the hills of early Greece, a shepherd walks among olive trees, his flock moving softly around him. The air is still, the sky wide and pale, yet his mind drifts, touching distant concerns, small uncertainties that have no clear voice. Greek thinkers often spoke of the mind as something that moves like water, sometimes calm, sometimes unsettled. They did not fear this movement. They watched it. They believed understanding came not through force, but through quiet noticing. And so the shepherd walks, breathing slowly, allowing his thoughts to pass like clouds across the open sky. In early Indian forests, monks sit cross-legged beneath tall trees, the world around them hushed and unmoving. Their eyes are half closed, their breath slow and steady. Yet even in deep stillness, the mind does not remain perfectly quiet. Thoughts arise, feelings ripple gently through awareness, sometimes calm, sometimes uneasy. The monks do not resist. They observe, like watching leaves float along a silent stream. They understood that unease, like all things, appears and fades, never truly fixed, never fully permanent. Time moves gently forward. The sun climbs higher. The world grows warmer. In ancient Chinese villages, people gather in quiet courtyards, sharing simple meals and slow conversation. A young scholar listens more than he speaks. Within him, a faint restlessness hums, like a string vibrating softly after being touched. His teacher once spoke of balance, of the flowing energy that moves through all living things. When this flow becomes uneven, the spirit may feel unsettled. The scholar breathes slowly, watching his thoughts without judgment, trusting that harmony will return in its own time. As the day continues, life unfolds in its familiar pattern. Footsteps along dusty paths, the turning of wheels, the distant sound of water poured into clay jars. Yet beneath these ordinary moments, human minds continue, their quiet movement drifting gently between calm and unease. A mother pauses while weaving, her hands still for a moment, sensing a small worry she cannot name. A traveler resting under shade feels a sudden tension, though no danger surrounds him. These feelings are not rare. They are part of the slow rhythm of being human. In Rome, long roads stretch toward distant horizons. Merchants walk steadily, their steps even, their thoughts wandering. Roman writers often describe the troubled mind not as broken, but as restless, like a sea touched by light wind. They spoke of routine, of steady habits, of simple living as ways to quiet the inner tide, not to erase unease, but to soften it. Edgy is allowing the mind to rest within its own movement, and so the day continues, calm and unhurried. The ancient world breathes slowly, carrying within it the quiet presence of human thought. Sometimes clear, sometimes clouded, always moving gently, like the endless flow of time itself. The afternoon light softens, stretching gently across stone, paths and quiet fields. Heat lingers in the air. Though the day has begun its slow descent toward evening, in this hour, movement becomes calmer, voices grow lower, even animals seem to rest more deeply. Yet within the stillness of the outer world, the inner world of the human mind continues its subtle motion, never fully stopping, never fully at peace. In a small Mesopotamian home, shaded by woven reeds, A woman sits beside a low table, grinding grain in slow circles. The sound is soft and steady, almost like breathing. For a moment, her thoughts drift into a place of quiet unease. Not sharp enough to disturb her work, not clear enough to understand. Just a faint stirring, like ripples, spreading across still water. She pauses, listening to the rhythm of the stone against grain, and continues. The feeling remains, but softer now, blending into the ordinary flow of the day across the Nile. Egyptian healers once spoke of invisible imbalances, subtle shifts that could disturb the calm of the mind. They believed the body and spirit moved together like the shadows cast by the same flame. When the spirit felt restless, the body often followed. A wandering sleep, a heavy breath, a quiet tension in the chest. Their remedies were rarely urgent. They encouraged stillness, gentle music, slow prayer, and the comfort of familiar patterns. The goal was not to remove the feeling, but to allow balance to return naturally. Like the river settling after a small disturbance, in the highlands of Greece the air cools as the sun lowers. A philosopher walks slowly along a dusty road, hands folded behind his back, eyes half focused on the ground before him. He has spoken often of the mind and its wandering nature. To him, unease is neither enemy nor mystery. It is simply part of being human. Thoughts rise, he once said, like birds from tall grass, unexpected yet harmless. Some stay briefly, some disappear quickly. The wise do not chase them. They allow them to pass. And so he walks, quietly observing the movement within himself. Without judgment, without resistance. Further east, in an early Indian village, evening fires begin to glow faintly against the growing dusk. The scent of smoke drifts softly through the air. A young boy sits beside his grandfather, listening to slow stories spoken in a calm, steady voice. The boy speaks of a strange feeling he sometimes notices at night, a flutter in his chest, a restlessness without reason. The old man nods gently. He does not rush to explain. He speaks softly of the mind as a river, always moving, never perfectly still. Some currents are calm, some uneasy, but all pass in time. The boy listens, and the unease, for now, feels smaller. In ancient China, the philosophy of balance continued to shape quiet understanding. Scholars wrote of the heart-mind as something delicate, easily disturbed yet naturally returning to harmony. A musician tuning a simple instrument might notice his own inner tension, a slight unease echoing within him. He adjusts the strings slowly, listening for the moment when sound becomes smooth and steady. In this gentle act, he senses his own mind, settling, not forced, not controlled, simply guided back toward calm. Even in the busy markets of ancient cities, where footsteps and voices fill the air, moments of silent unease appear without warning. A merchant counting coins may pause, feeling a sudden uncertainty, though nothing has changed. A traveler watching distant hills may feel a quiet weight, as if expecting something unnamed. These feelings pass unnoticed by others, yet they are deeply familiar to the one who feels them. Ancient people rarely spoke loudly of such moments. They carried them quietly, like small stones in a pocket, present but not overwhelming. In Rome, as evening shadows lengthen across wide stone streets, a soldier returns from his duties, armor set aside, body tired. The noise of the day fades, leaving only the soft sound of his own breathing. In stillness, his mind begins to wander. Memories, worries, faint echoes of distant fears. Roman thinkers often describe this state as a natural movement of the inner world, not a flaw, not a weakness. They believed calm could be found through acceptance, through understanding that the mind, like the sea, cannot remain perfectly smooth. And so the soldier sits quietly, watching the last light fade, allowing his thoughts to come and go like waves against the shore. Night begins its slow return. The sky darkens gradually, stars appearing one by one, silent and steady. Across deserts, mountains, and rivers, ancient people prepare for rest. Yet even in rest, the mind continues its gentle motion, drifting between calm and unease, between quiet and thought. In early Persian homes, families gather in soft lamplight. Voices are low, movements slow. A mother hums quietly while a child lies half asleep, eyes heavy yet not fully closed. The child feels a small, uncertain flutter inside, something he cannot name. The mother's voice remains steady, soft, reassuring without words. And in that calm presence, the unease begins to loosen, fading into the rhythm of breath and darkness. And so, as night deepens once more, the ancient world continues to hold this quiet, familiar experience, the subtle movement of the restless mind. Never fully still, never fully troubled, simply drifting gently through time. Carried by the slow and endless flow of human life, the night grows deeper, and with it comes a softer silence, the kind that feels wide and endless. The last sounds of evening fade slowly into stillness. Somewhere, a distant breeze moves across dry earth, touching rooftops and trees with the lightest whisper. The world does not sleep all at once. It settles, gently, like dust drifting downward after a long day. And within this settling, the human mind continues its quiet motion. Steady and unhurried, in a modest home of ancient clay, a man lies awake beneath a woven cover. His body is tired, yet his thoughts remain softly awake, moving without direction. A faint unease lingers, not strong, not sharp, only present like a shadow that cannot fully disappear. He listens to his own breathing, slow and steady, and waits. He does not struggle against the feeling. In time, it softens, though never entirely gone, only quieter, like an echo fading into distance. Across distant lands, others share this same silent experience. In the quiet valleys of early Greece, beneath a sky scattered with pale stars, a young woman steps outside her home. The cool air touches her skin. For a moment, she feels calm. Then, gently, the familiar stirring returns. A small restlessness, like ripples crossing still water. She remembers words once spoken by a wandering thinker, that the mind moves as clouds move, never fixed, never permanent. She watches the sky, and slowly, the unease drifts with the passing night. In ancient India, long after evening fires have dimmed, a monk sits awake beneath the open sky. The forest around him is silent, yet alive in subtle ways. He feels the movement of thought inside him, the quiet tremor of uncertainty that sometimes arises without cause. He does not resist. He watches as he has been taught, allowing each feeling to appear and fade like waves touching the shore. To him, unease is only a visitor, never a master, never permanent. And in this quiet watching, his mind grows softer, more spacious, like a still lake beneath moonlight. Far away, in ancient China, a scholar wakes briefly in the night. His room is dim, lit only by a fading lamp. He feels a slight tension, a faint imbalance within, like a note just slightly off in a gentle melody. He sits upright, breathing slowly, recalling the teachings of harmony between breath, body, and spirit. Nothing is forced, nothing is rushed. The tension shifts on its own, settling gradually, as water settles after being touched. He lies down, once more the night holding him quietly. The ancient world did not seek loud answers for these quiet feelings. Unease was often accepted as part of the human rhythm, like hunger, like fatigue, like the changing seasons. In Egyptian villages, healers sometimes spoke of the heart as a delicate center, easily disturbed yet naturally returning to balance. They believed calm could be encouraged through gentle living, soft words, steady routines, and quiet reflection. Not a cure, perhaps, but a return to familiar ground. In Rome, beneath wide skies and silent streets, a traveler rests near a low fire. The warmth flickers softly against his face. His journey has been long, and though he is safe, his mind continues. It's wandering. Small worries, faint memories, the quiet hum of thought that never fully stops. Roman writers once described such moments as part of the human condition, neither weakness nor flaw, only movement within the soul. The traveler closes his eyes, and the warmth of the fire, steady and calm, seems to soften the edges of his unease. Across the desert in early Persian lands, the night feels vast and open, the stars bright and unmoving. A shepherd watches his flock resting quietly around him. In the stillness, he notices a faint stirring inside, something between thought and feeling, difficult to name. He remembers old stories, spoken gently by elders, that the mind, like the sky, holds both light and shadow, yet remains whole. He breathes slowly, and the unease becomes lighter, like mist dissolving beneath morning sun. And so the ancient night continues, calm and patient, holding countless quiet minds, drifting between rest and thought. No great answers arrive, no final peace settles forever. Only the gentle movement of human awareness, rising and falling like the tide. Never fully still, never fully troubled. The lamp fades, the fire grows small, darkness deepens, soft and endless. Somewhere a sleeper turns, and another thought begins. Its quiet journey, and time, slow and steady, carries these silent human feelings forward, into another dawn, into another day, into the continuing story of the ancient and restless, yet enduring human mind. Dawn arrives again, softly and without sound, like a breath taken by the earth itself. The sky lightens in slow shades of grey and pale gold. Nothing rushes, nothing insists. The world simply continues, as it always has, steady and quiet. And, with the returning light, the human mind awakens once more, carrying its familiar mixture of calm and faint, wandering unease. In a quiet Greek village, the air is cool and still. A narrow path winds between small homes of stone and clay. A man walks slowly, his sandals brushing against dust, his thoughts moving in soft circles. He is woken from uneasy dreams, not frightening, only restless, like water disturbed by a passing breeze. The early thinkers once spoke of such feelings as movements within the soul, natural and passing. He remembers this, not clearly, not fully, but enough to feel less alone. He walks, breathing slowly, and the morning air feels wide and gentle around him. In the shaded courtyards of ancient Egypt, the day begins with quiet preparation. Water is poured into clay jars. Bread is shaped by patient hands. Yet beneath these simple acts, the mind sometimes drifts into quieter spaces, places where thoughts feel heavy without clear cause. Egyptian healers believed the heart carried both joy and disturbance, and that imbalance could bring a subtle restlessness, a wandering unease. They spoke softly of harmony, of gentle living, of allowing calm to return like the slow rising of the Nile after long absence. Across the wide plains of Mesopotamia, a scribe sits beside a clay tablet, his stylus resting lightly in his hand. He has recorded many dreams and worries, the quiet burdens people bring without fully understanding. Some speak of sleepless nights, others of sudden fear without danger, still others of a mind that circles endlessly, unable to settle. The scribe does not judge, he listens, he writes. To him, these feelings are not strange. They are part of the hidden currents that move through human life, as unseen yet as constant as the flowing river nearby. In early Indian forests, morning mist hangs low among tall trees. A monk sits in stillness, his breath slow and steady, his body unmoving. Yet within, thoughts continue their quiet wandering, sometimes calm, sometimes unsettled. The sages long ago noticed that the mind is rarely silent. It moves like wind through leaves, sometimes gentle, sometimes restless. They taught not to fight this movement, but to observe it, allowing unease to pass naturally, like clouds dissolving into open sky. The monk remains still, watching, waiting, breathing. Further east, in ancient China, a teacher and student walk slowly along a narrow garden path. Dew rests lightly on the grass. The teacher speaks quietly of balance, of the gentle flow that moves through breath, body, and thought. When this flow becomes uneven, the spirit may feel disturbed, like a pond touched by falling leaves. The student listens, feeling his own subtle unease, a faint tension without clear cause. He breathes more slowly, matching his steps to the rhythm of the morning. The feeling does not vanish, but it softens, becoming part of the wider calm. The sun rises higher now, warm and steady. In distant Roman lands, the day begins with quiet motion. A merchant opens his stall, arranging simple goods with careful hands. Yet his mind drifts, touching small worries, uncertain thoughts about tomorrow, about journeys yet to come. Roman thinkers once spoke of the troubled mind as something natural, not broken, not flawed, only restless. They believed calm could be found in simple repetition, in steady habits, in the quiet acceptance of life as it unfolds. The merchant continues his work, and the unease settles gently into the background of his day. Across mountains and deserts, human lives unfold in similar rhythms. Work, rest, thought, silence. And within these patterns, the mind continues its subtle movement, sometimes clear, sometimes clouded, always changing. A mother pauses beside her child, feeling a sudden worry she cannot explain. A traveler walking alone senses a quiet tension, though the path ahead is peaceful. These moments are brief, often unnoticed, yet deeply familiar to those who feel them. In early Persian lands, beneath wide open skies, a shepherd walks slowly among his flock. The wind moves softly across dry grass. He feels a faint stirring within, something between thought and feeling, neither strong nor absent. Elders once spoke of the inner world as a place of shifting light and shadow, always moving, never fixed. He remembers this, and the unease feels less heavy, more like a passing cloud than a gathering storm. The day continues, calm and unhurried. The ancient world breathes quietly, holding within it countless minds, drifting gently between stillness and movement, between calm and unease, like waves rising and falling on an endless sea. The day moves quietly toward its middle, the sun resting, high and steady above fields, rooftops, and winding paths. Heat settles softly over the land, slowing footsteps, softening voices, encouraging stillness. In this warm and gentle pause, the outer world appears calm, yet the inner world of the mind continues its slow and subtle motion, never entirely quiet, never fully disturbed. In a small Greek home, shaded by vines and worn stone, a woman sits near an open doorway, weaving thin threads into cloth. Her hands move with steady rhythm, back and forth, like the quiet ticking of time itself. For a moment, her thoughts drift into a space of gentle unease. There is no clear reason, no sudden fear, only a faint heaviness, as if something unseen has brushed softly against her mind. She pauses, listening to the distant hum of insects in the warm air, and then continues weaving. The feeling remains, but it grows lighter, blending into the rhythm of her hands. Across the broad lands of Egypt, the Nile flows slowly, reflecting the bright sky above. Farmers rest beneath simple shelters, their work paused in the still heat. Of midday, one man sits alone, watching the water move, his thoughts wandering into quiet uncertainty. Egyptian healers once spoke of invisible balances within the heart, delicate forces that shape feeling and thought. When these forces shifted, the mind might feel restless, uneasy, without clear cause. The man breathes slowly, watching the river, and senses his thoughts settling, not disappearing, but becoming calmer, like water smoothing after a ripple. In Mesopotamia, beneath the shade of tall reeds, a young scribe studies worn clay tablets etched with symbols of dreams and worries from long ago. Many speak of restless nights, of wandering thoughts that circle endlessly, of a subtle trembling within the mind. The scribe reads slowly, not searching for answers, only observing the quiet patterns of human feeling across time. He notices how often unease appears without warning, and how often it fades without struggle, like mist dissolving under the warmth of morning light in the cool silence of early Indian temples. A group of monks sit in gentle stillness. Their eyes rest half closed, their breathing slow and even. Yet within, thoughts continue their quiet wandering, sometimes clear, sometimes clouded. A young monk notices a subtle tension rising within him, a small flutter of uncertainty. He does not resist. He watches, as he has been taught, allowing the feeling to move freely, like leaves drifting across a calm pond. Slowly, the tension softens, not forced away, but dissolving on its own. Further east, in ancient China, a scholar sits beside a wooden table, brush in hand, ink untouched. Outside, bamboo leaves swayed gently in the light wind. Inside, his mind drifts through small worries, quiet doubts, thoughts without clear shape. His teacher once spoke of harmony, of the flowing energy that connects breath, body, and thought. When harmony shifts, the spirit may feel unsettled, like a bell slightly out of tune. The scholar closes his eyes briefly, breathing slowly, allowing his thoughts to settle naturally, like dust returning to the earth. The afternoon begins its slow descent toward evening. Shadows lengthen across fields and stone roads. In distant Roman towns, the rhythm of daily life continues with quiet steadiness. A baker arranges loaves on a wooden table, his hands moving with familiar care. Yet his mind wanders into quiet spaces, touching small worries about tomorrow, about uncertain paths ahead. Roman philosophers often spoke of the restless mind as something natural, like the sea stirred gently by wind. They believed calm came not from control, but from acceptance, from understanding that the mind moves as life moves, sometimes smooth, sometimes uneven. Across deserts and open plains, human lives continue in simple patterns. A mother hums softly while preparing the evening meal, yet feels a faint unease she cannot explain. A traveler resting beneath a lone tree senses a quiet tension, though the horizon remains peaceful and wide. These moments are brief, often unnoticed, yet deeply familiar to those who feel them. In early Persian lands, the afternoon sun fades into softer light. A shepherd sits quietly, watching his flock graze slowly across dry grass. Within him, a gentle stirring remains, something between thought and feeling, neither strong nor absent. Elders once spoke of the mind as a place of shifting light and shadow, always moving, never fixed. He breathes slowly, listening to the soft wind, and the unease becomes lighter, blending into the calm of the open land. The day continues its quiet passage. Nothing urgent, nothing loud. Only the slow unfolding of time, and within it, the endless, gentle movement of the human mind. Drifting between calm and unease, like waves touching the shore of a quiet, endless sea, evening begins its quiet return. Slow and gentle, like a curtain drawn softly across the sky. The warmth of the day fades into a cooler calm. Shadows stretch long across fields and stone paths, blending into one another until edges soften and the world feels smaller, quieter, more inward. And within this quiet turning of the day, the human mind continues its subtle movement, steady and unhurried, like a slow river beneath fading light. In a small village of ancient Greece, the last sounds of work fade into stillness. A woman places aside her weaving and steps outside, where the sky glows faintly with the last light of the sun. For a moment, she feels calm. Then, softly, the familiar stirring returns, a quiet unease without shape or name. She has felt this before, many times, like a whisper passing through thought. The philosophers once spoke of such feelings as part of the natural motion of the soul, neither to be feared nor held. She watches the sky grow darker, and the unease, though still present, feels lighter, as if carried away by the evening air across the Nile. Egyptian homes glow with the dim light of small lamps. Families gather in quiet conversation, voices low, movements slow. A healer sits beside an open doorway, listening to the soft breathing of the night. Many have come to him with troubled hearts, speaking of restless thoughts, of a heaviness that arrives without clear cause. He has always answered gently, speaking of balance, of the heart returning to harmony as naturally as the river returns, each year to its course. Tonight, he sits alone, yet even he feels a faint tension within, a reminder that the mind, like the world, is never perfectly still. In Mesopotamia, beneath a sky filled with pale stars, a scribe rests beside a small clay lamp. His work for the day is finished, yet his thoughts continue their slow wandering. He remembers the many stories pressed into clay, the quiet worries carried by countless lives across generations. Restless nights, uneasy breaths, minds unable to settle. He has learned that these feelings come and go like passing winds, touching each life briefly, then moving on. He watches the flame flicker, and his thoughts grow softer, calmer, blending into the gentle rhythm of night. Far away, in the forests of ancient India, evening settles like a soft mist among tall trees. A monk walks slowly along a narrow path, the ground cool beneath his bare feet. Within him, thoughts rise and fall like waves, sometimes calm, sometimes unsettled. He does not resist. He observes, allowing each feeling to appear and fade, like reflections drifting across still water. The sages taught that unease is not a permanent state, only a passing movement within the mind. As darkness deepens, the monk feels his thoughts quieting, not fully silent, but softer, more spacious. Like the wide sky above in ancient China, a scholar sits beside a small lantern, its light steady and warm. Outside, the world has grown silent. Bamboo leaves barely moving in the night air. Inside, his mind drifts gently through faint worries and quiet uncertainties. His teacher once spoke of harmony, of balance within breath and spirit, of the mind returning naturally to calm when allowed, to settle without force. He closes his eyes briefly, breathing slowly, and the tension within him shifts, softening like a distant echo fading into silence. Across Roman lands, the evening settles over wide stone streets and quiet homes. A traveler rests beside a low fire, its warmth steady against the cool air. His journey has been long, and though he is safe, his mind continues its quiet wandering. Small worries, faint memories, the gentle hum of thought that never fully stops. Roman writers once described this state as part of being human, neither weakness nor flaw, only the natural motion of the inner world. The traveler watches the fire, dims slowly, and his unease becomes softer, blending into the calm of the night. Across deserts, beneath vast Persian skies, stars shine clear and unmoving. A shepherd sits quietly among his resting flock, the silence deep and wide around him. Within, he feels a subtle stirring, something between thought and feeling, difficult to name. Elders once spoke of the mind as a place where light and shadow move together, neither permanent, neither fixed. He breathes slowly, listening to the stillness, and the unease becomes lighter, like mist dissolving beneath the quiet glow of dawn. Yet to come, the night deepens, lamps grow dim, fires fade into soft embers. Across ancient lands, countless minds drift between rest and thought, between calm and unease, carried gently by the steady rhythm of time. No final answers arrive, no lasting stillness remains forever. only the quiet continuation of human awareness, moving softly through darkness toward another distant morning. And so, in the endless calm of night, the ancient world continues to breathe, holding within it the gentle, familiar presence of the restless yet enduring human mind, drifting slowly, quietly onward. The morning comes quietly again, pale light touching rooftops, fields, and quiet roads, as if the world is waking without effort. Nothing announces the day. No sudden change, only a slow brightening, like a breath drawn softly and released. And, with this gentle return of light, the human mind stirs once more, carrying its familiar rhythm of calm and faint unease. Like a tide that moves without sound. In a quiet Greek town, the streets are still cool from the night. A baker wakes before sunrise, stepping into the dim glow of his small workshop. The air smells faintly of flour and stone. He moves slowly, preparing dough with steady hands. Yet within, his thoughts wander, touching small worries, faint tensions, feelings that arrive without clear reason. The philosophers once spoke of the mind as something that never truly rests, always shifting like shadows across the ground. The baker remembers this, not as knowledge, but as a quiet sense of familiarity. He continues kneading, and the movement of his hands brings a soft calm, though the unease never fully disappears. Across the Nile, morning light spreads gently over water and reeds. A farmer walks along the riverbank, his steps slow, his breath steady. The land is peaceful, the air warm, yet inside he feels a slight heaviness, a quiet disturbance without shape. Egyptian healers once described such feelings as movements of the heart, subtle imbalances that pass like clouds across the sky. The farmer pauses, watching the water flow, and senses his thoughts settling. Not gone, only quieter, blending into the rhythm of the river. In the ancient cities of Mesopotamia, life begins early. A scribe sits beside fresh clay, his stylus resting lightly in his fingers. Many come to him with stories of restless nights, of uneasy breaths, of minds that wander without rest. He listens patiently, pressing each story into clay, preserving the quiet patterns of human thought. He has noticed how often unease appears in still moments, and how often it fades without struggle. Like wind through tall grass, touching briefly, then passing on. In the forests of early India, dawn arrives beneath tall trees and drifting mist. A monk sits beside a narrow stream, listening to the gentle movement of water over stone. His body is still, yet his mind continues its slow wandering. Thoughts arise, soft and uncertain, then fade again. The sages once spoke of the mind as a river, always flowing, never fixed. Unease, they believed, is simply a ripple, neither permanent nor powerful when observed without resistance. The monk watches, breathing slowly, and the ripple softens, blending into the quiet flow of awareness far to the east. In ancient China, a young student walks beside his teacher along a narrow garden path. The morning is calm. Dew rests on leaves, and the air feels cool and clear. Yet within the student, a faint tension hums quietly, like a distant sound barely heard. His teacher once spoke of harmony, of balance within breath and spirit, of the mind returning naturally to calm when allowed, to move without force. The student breathes more slowly, matching his steps to the rhythm of the morning, and the unease becomes lighter, though never fully gone. As the sun rises higher, Life unfolds in its simple, familiar pattern. In distant Roman lands, a potter shapes clay on a turning wheel, his hands steady, his movements calm. Yet his thoughts drift into quiet uncertainty, touching small concerns about the future, about journeys yet to come. Roman thinkers often described the troubled mind as something natural, like waves on a gentle sea. Calm, they believed, was not the absence of movement, but the acceptance of it. The potter continues shaping clay, and the steady turning of the wheel brings a soft stillness to his thoughts. Across wide plains and silent deserts, the same quiet experience unfolds. A mother pauses while preparing morning bread, feeling a small worry she cannot explain. A traveler walking alone senses a subtle tension, though the path ahead is peaceful and clear. These moments are brief, often unnoticed, yet deeply familiar, woven into the quiet rhythm of human life. In early Persian lands, beneath a pale and open sky, a shepherd walks slowly among his flock. The wind moves softly through dry grass. Within him, a gentle stirring remains, something between thought and feeling, neither strong nor absent. Elders once spoke of the inner world as a place of shifting light and shadow, always moving, never fixed. He remembers this, and the unease feels less heavy, more like a passing cloud than a gathering storm. The morning continues, calm and unhurried. The ancient world breathes softly, carrying within it countless quiet minds drifting gently between stillness and movement, between calm and unease, like waves rising and falling on an endless, silent sea. The sun rises higher and settles into its quiet place above the world, warm but not harsh, steady but never hurried. Midday arrives like a long, calm breath. The land grows still, shadows shorten and soften, voices fade into softer tones, and movement slows beneath the gentle weight of light. And within this quiet pause, the human mind continues its slow, subtle drifting, never fully silent, never fully restless, simply moving as it always has. In a small Greek courtyard, shaded by thin vines and worn stone, an elderly man sits on a low bench. His hands rest loosely in his lap, his gaze unfocused, drifting somewhere between memory and the present moment. For a while, he feels only calm. Then, softly, a familiar unease appears, light and shapeless, like a faint echo in a wide space. He has known this feeling for many years. The philosophers once spoke of the soul as something that moves gently between calm and disturbance, never fixed, never fully still. He breathes slowly, feeling the warmth of the sun on his face, and the unease becomes softer, blending into the quiet rhythm of his breath. Across the wide river plains of Egypt, farmers pause beneath simple reed shelters, resting from the slow labor of morning. The Nile flows nearby, steady and endless, reflecting the bright sky. One farmer sits alone, watching the water move, his thoughts drifting into small uncertainties. Egyptian healers once described the heart as a delicate center, easily disturbed, yet naturally returning to harmony. They believed stillness, gentle music, and simple living could help restore balance. The farmer listens to the quiet sound of flowing water, and his thoughts settle slightly, like dust returning to the earth after a light wind. In Mesopotamia, beneath the shade of tall reeds, a scribe continues his quiet work. Clay tablets lie stacked beside him, marked with the stories of many lives. Some speak of troubled sleep, of wandering thoughts that refuse to settle, of a subtle trembling within the mind. He has noticed how these feelings appear without warning, and often fade without effort, like clouds dissolving in open sky. He presses new symbols into soft clay, not seeking answers, only preserving the quiet pattern of human feeling across time. In the cool silence of early Indian temples, monks sit in stillness, their breathing slow, their bodies unmoving. Yet within, thoughts continue to rise and fall, sometimes calm, sometimes uneasy. A young monk feels a faint tension growing within him, a small ripple across the surface of his awareness. He does not resist. He watches quietly as the sages taught, allowing the feeling to exist without struggle. Slowly, the ripple softens, dissolving like mist beneath gentle sunlight. Further east, in ancient China, a musician sits beside a simple instrument, adjusting its strings in the quiet warmth of midday. He notices a subtle unease within himself, a tension without clear cause, like a sound slightly out of tune. The teachings of harmony remind him that imbalance is natural, and that calm returns when breath and spirit move together. He adjusts the string carefully, listening for smoothness, and in this gentle act, his own mind becomes steadier, quieter, like water settling after a ripple. The afternoon begins its slow descent. In Roman lands, long roads stretch beneath the warm sun, quiet and steady. A traveler walks alone, his steps even, his thoughts wandering through small worries, faint memories, and uncertain hopes. Roman philosophers often described the restless mind as part of the human condition, not to be feared, not to be erased, only to be understood. Calm, they believed, was found in accepting the movement of thought, as one accepts the shifting of seasons. The traveler continues walking, and the unease becomes lighter, carried gently by the rhythm of his steps. Across deserts and open plains, the quiet rhythm of life continues. A mother hums softly while weaving cloth, yet senses a small worry she cannot name. A shepherd resting beneath a lone tree feels a subtle tension, though the horizon remains peaceful and wide. These moments are brief, often unnoticed, yet deeply familiar, woven gently into the fabric of human experience. In early Persian lands, the sun begins to soften, casting long, quiet shadows across dry grass. A shepherd sits beside his resting flock, the air still and calm. Within him, a faint stirring remains, something between thought and feeling, neither strong nor absent. Elders once spoke of the mind as a place of shifting light and shadow, always moving, never fixed. He breathes slowly, listening to the soft wind, and the unease becomes lighter, blending into the calm of the fading day. And so the afternoon continues, slow and unhurried. The ancient world breathes softly, holding within it the gentle, familiar movement of the human mind, drifting quietly between calm and unease, like waves touching the shore of an endless, silent sea. Evening returns once more, slow and gentle, like a familiar visitor who never rushes. The warmth of the day begins to fade, replaced by a softer coolness that settles quietly over fields, rooftops, and winding paths. Shadows grow long and merge into one another, until edges blur and the world feels calm and inward. In this quiet turning, the human mind continues its steady, subtle motion, never fully silent, never fully restless, always moving like a slow river beneath fading light, in a quiet Greek home. The final sounds of daily work soften into stillness. A woman places aside her woven cloth and steps outside, where the sky glows faintly with the last colors of sunset. For a moment, calm surrounds her. Then, gently, a familiar stirring returns, a quiet unease without shape or name. She has known this feeling many times, like a soft whisper passing through thought. The philosophers once spoke of such moments as part of the natural rhythm of the soul, neither to be feared nor held. She watches the sky grow darker, and the unease, though still present, feels lighter, as if carried away by the evening air. Along the Nile, Egyptian homes glow with the dim light of small oil lamps. Families gather in quiet conversation, voices low, movements slow. A healer sits near an open doorway, listening to the soft breathing of night. Many have come to him with troubled hearts, speaking of restless thoughts and a heaviness that arrives without reason. He has always answered gently, speaking of balance, of the heart returning to harmony like the river returning to its course. Tonight, he sits alone, and even he feels a faint tension within. A reminder that the mind, like the world, is never perfectly still in the quiet lands of Mesopotamia. Beneath a sky scattered with pale stars, a scribe rests beside a small clay lamp. His work is done, yet his thoughts continue their slow wandering. He remembers the many stories pressed into clay, the quiet worries carried across generations. Sleepless nights, uneasy breaths, minds unable to settle. He has learned that such feelings come and go like passing winds, touching briefly, then fading. He watches the lamp flicker, and his thoughts soften, blending into the gentle rhythm of night. Far away, in the forests of ancient India, evening settles like mist among tall trees. A monk walks slowly along a narrow path, the ground cool beneath his feet. Within him, thoughts rise and fall like waves, sometimes calm, sometimes unsettled. He does not resist. He observes, allowing each feeling to appear and fade like reflections. Across still water, the sages taught that unease is not permanent, only a passing movement within the mind. As darkness deepens, his thoughts quiet, not fully silent, but softer, like the wide sky above. In ancient China, a scholar sits beside a fading lantern, its light warm and steady. Outside, bamboo leaves barely move in the still air. Inside, his mind drifts through faint worries and quiet uncertainties. His teacher once spoke of harmony between breath and spirit, of calm returning naturally when the mind is allowed to settle without force. He closes his eyes briefly, breathing slowly, and the tension within softens, like a distant echo fading into silence. Across Roman lands, evening settles over wide stone streets and quiet homes. A traveler rests beside a small fire, its glow gentle against the cool air. His journey has been long, and though he is safe, his mind continues its quiet wandering. Small worries, faint memories, the gentle hum of thought that never fully stops. Roman writers once described this as part of being human, neither weakness nor flaw, only the natural motion of the inner world. He watches the fire dim slowly, and the unease becomes softer, blending into the calm of night. Across deserts, beneath vast Persian skies, stars shine clear and unmoving. A shepherd sits quietly among his resting flock, silence deep around him. Within, he feels a subtle stirring, something between thought and feeling, difficult to name. Elders once spoke of the mind as a place where light and shadow move together, never fixed, never permanent. He breathes slowly, listening to stillness, and the unease becomes lighter, like mist dissolving beneath the promise of dawn. The night deepens. Lamps grow dim, fires fade into soft embers. Across ancient lands, countless minds drift between rest and thought, between calm and unease, carried gently by the steady rhythm of time. There is no final stillness, no lasting answer, only the quiet continuation of human awareness, moving softly through darkness toward another morning. And so, in the endless calm of night, the ancient world continues to breathe, holding within it the gentle, familiar presence of the restless yet enduring human mind, drifting slowly, quietly, onward. Morning returns again, soft and patient, like a quiet promise that asks for nothing. Pale light spreads slowly across the sleeping earth, touching rooftops, fields, and narrow paths with a gentle hand. Nothing begins suddenly, nothing insists. The world simply continues, calm and familiar, and with it, the human mind awakens once more, carrying its quiet rhythm of stillness and subtle unease. In a small village of ancient Greece, the air is cool and silent. A narrow path winds between stone homes, and the faint scent of earth lingers in the morning breeze. A young man walks slowly, his steps unhurried, his thoughts moving in soft circles. He does not feel fear, only a quiet restlessness, like a ripple spreading across calm water. Greek thinkers once spoke of the mind as something fluid, always shifting, never fully at rest. The young man remembers these ideas faintly, like distant words carried by wind, and continues walking, allowing the unease to exist without struggle. Along the banks of the Nile, morning light glows golden upon still water. A woman carries a clay jar, her steps steady, her breath slow. Yet within, a faint heaviness stirs, a quiet tension she cannot name. Egyptian healers once described the heart as a delicate center of balance, easily disturbed yet naturally returning to harmony. She pauses for a moment, watching the gentle flow of the river, and feels her thoughts settle slightly, like dust falling softly back to earth. In the ancient cities of Mesopotamia, the day begins with quiet purpose. A scribe sits beside fresh clay, pressing careful symbols into its soft surface. Many come to him with stories of restless nights and wandering thoughts, of a mind that moves without rest. He has learned that such feelings are not rare, nor are they permanent. They appear and fade like shadows shifting across the ground. He writes slowly, preserving the quiet pattern of human thought, while outside, the river continues its endless, silent flow. In the forests of early India, morning mist rests low among tall trees. A monk sits beside a narrow stream, his body still, his breath gentle. Within, thoughts rise and fall, sometimes calm, sometimes unsettled. The sages once taught that the mind moves like water, always flowing, never fixed. Unease, they believed, is only a small ripple in the greater stream of awareness. The monk watches quietly, allowing the ripple to pass without resistance. And slowly, his mind grows softer, like water smoothing beneath the morning sun, far to the east. In ancient China, a teacher and student walk through a quiet garden. Dew rests lightly on leaves, and the air feels cool and clear. The student senses a faint tension within, a subtle unease without clear cause. The teacher speaks softly of harmony, of the gentle balance between breath and spirit. When this balance shifts, the mind may feel unsettled, like a pond touched by falling leaves. The student breathes slowly, matching his steps to the calm rhythm of the morning, and the unease becomes lighter, blending into the stillness around him. As the sun rises higher, life unfolds in simple patterns across distant, roaming lands. A farmer works quietly in a small field, turning soil with steady hands. Yet his mind drifts into quiet uncertainty, touching small worries about tomorrow, about the unseen paths ahead. Roman thinkers once spoke of such restlessness as a natural movement of the inner world, not to be feared, not to be erased. Calm, they believed, came through acceptance, through steady living, through the quiet repetition of daily life. The farmer continues his work, and the unease softens, settling gently into the rhythm of his breath. Across open plains and silent deserts, similar moments unfold. A mother pauses beside her child, feeling a small worry she cannot explain. A traveler walking alone senses a subtle tension, though the road remains peaceful and clear. These feelings are brief, often unnoticed, yet deeply familiar, woven gently into the quiet rhythm of human life. In early Persian lands, beneath an open sky, a shepherd walks slowly among his flock. The wind moves softly through dry grass. Within him, a faint stirring remains, something between thought and feeling, neither strong nor absent. Elders once spoke of the inner world as a place of shifting light and shadow, always moving, never fixed. He remembers this, and the unease feels less heavy, more like a passing cloud drifting across a wide and silent sky. The morning continues, calm and unhurried. The ancient world breathes softly, carrying within it countless quiet minds drifting gently between stillness and movement, between calm and unease, like waves rising and falling on an endless, silent sea. The sun rises higher, steady and quiet, resting above fields, rivers, and stone paths without hurry. Midday arrives gently, like a long breath held by the earth. Movement slows, voices soften. Even the wind seems to pause, as if listening. And within this calm pause, the human mind continues its slow drifting, never fully silent, never fully restless, moving softly as it always has. In a small Greek home, shaded by simple vines, a woman sits near an open doorway, her hands working slowly at a loom. Threads move back and forth, steady and familiar. For a while, her mind rests in quiet calm. Then, without warning, a faint unease appears, soft and shapeless, like a distant echo across empty hills. She has felt this before, many times, and she does not resist. Greek thinkers once spoke of such moments as part of the natural movement of the soul, gentle shifts between stillness and disturbance. She breathes slowly, listening to the quiet hum of insects in the warm air, and the unease softens, blending into the rhythm of her work. Along the Nile, beneath the warm glow of midday, farmers rest beside fields of green. The river flows nearby, steady and endless, reflecting the bright sky above. One man sits alone, watching the water move, his thoughts drifting into quiet uncertainty. Egyptian healers once spoke of the heart as a delicate balance, easily disturbed, yet naturally returning to harmony. They believed calm could be encouraged through stillness, gentle sound, and simple living. The farmer listens to the soft movement of water, and his thoughts begin to settle, like dust returning slowly to earth in the cities of Mesopotamia. Beneath tall reeds and quiet skies, a scribe continues his patient work. Clay tablets lie beside him, filled with stories of restless nights and wandering thoughts. Many have spoken of subtle trembling within the mind, of unease without clear cause. He has noticed how often these feelings appear in moments of stillness, and how often they fade without effort, like mist dissolving beneath morning sun. He presses new symbols into clay, not searching for answers, only recording the quiet patterns of human experience across time. In the cool stillness of early Indian temples, monks sit quietly, their breathing slow and steady. Yet even in silence, the mind moves gently, thoughts rising and falling like ripples across calm water. A young monk feels a faint tension stirring within him, a small ripple across his awareness. He does not resist. He watches as the sages taught, allowing the ripple to exist without struggle. Slowly, the tension softens, dissolving naturally, leaving only quiet awareness behind. Further east, in ancient China, a musician sits beside a simple instrument, adjusting its strings in the warm stillness of midday. He senses a subtle unease within himself, a tension without clear cause, like a sound slightly out of tune. The teachings of harmony remind him that imbalance is natural, and calm returns when breath and spirit move together. He adjusts the string, carefully listening for smoothness, and in this gentle act, his own mind becomes steadier, quieter, like water settling after a ripple. The afternoon begins its slow descent. In Roman lands, long roads stretch beneath the warm sun, calm and endless. A traveler walks alone, his steps steady, his thoughts wandering through faint worries and distant memories. Roman philosophers often described the restless mind as part of the human condition, neither weakness nor flaw, only the natural motion of the inner world. Calm, they believed, was found not in control, but in acceptance, in understanding that the mind, like the sea, cannot remain perfectly still. The traveler continues walking, and the unease becomes lighter, carried gently by the rhythm of his steps. Across open plains and silent deserts, life continues in its quiet patterns. A mother hums softly while preparing the midday meal, yet feels a small worry she cannot name. A shepherd, resting beneath a lone tree, senses a subtle tension, though the horizon remains peaceful and wide. These moments are brief, often unnoticed, yet deeply familiar, woven gently into the rhythm of human life. In early Persian lands, the afternoon sun softens, casting long, quiet shadows across dry grass. A shepherd sits beside his flock, the air still and calm. Within him, a faint stirring remains, something between thought and feeling, neither strong nor absent. Elders once spoke of the mind as a place of shifting light and shadow, always moving, never fixed. He breathes slowly, listening to the soft wind, and the unease becomes lighter, blending into the calm of the fading day. And so the afternoon continues, slow and gentle. The ancient world breathes quietly, holding within it the familiar movement of the human mind, drifting softly between calm and unease, like waves touching the shore of an endless silency. Evening returns again, soft and familiar, like a quiet memory that never fades. The warmth of the day slowly loosens its hold, and a gentle coolness settles over fields, rooftops, and narrow stone roads. Shadows stretch and blend into one another until the world feels calm and inward. In this quiet turning, the human mind continues its slow and steady motion, never fully silent, never fully restless, always drifting like a quiet river beneath fading light. In a small Greek village, the final sounds of work soften into stillness. A woman sets aside her woven cloth and steps outside, where the sky glows faintly with the last light of sunset. For a moment, calm surrounds her. Then, gently, the familiar stirring returns, a quiet unease without shape or name. She has known this feeling many times, like a soft whisper moving through thought. The philosophers once spoke of such moments as part of the natural rhythm of the soul, neither to be feared nor held. She watches the sky darken, and the unease, though still present, feels lighter, as if carried away by the evening air along the Nile. Egyptian homes glow with the dim light of small oil lamps. Families gather in quiet conversation, voices low, movements slow. A healer sits near an open doorway, listening to the soft breathing of the night. Many have come to him with troubled hearts, speaking of restless thoughts and heaviness without clear cause. He has always answered gently, speaking of balance, of the heart returning to harmony like the river returning to its course. Tonight he sits alone, and even he feels a faint tension within. A reminder that the mind, like the world, is never perfectly still in Mesopotamia. Beneath a sky scattered with pale stars, a scribe rests beside a small clay lamp. His work is finished, yet his thoughts continue their slow wandering. He remembers the many stories pressed into clay, the quiet worries carried across generations, sleepless nights, uneasy breaths, minds unable to settle. He has learned that such feelings come and go like passing winds, touching briefly, then fading. He watches the small flame flicker, and his thoughts soften, blending into the gentle rhythm of night. Far away, in the forests of ancient India, evening settles like mist among tall trees. A monk walks slowly along a narrow path, the ground cool beneath his feet. Within him, thoughts rise and fall like waves, sometimes calm, sometimes unsettled. He does not resist. He observes, allowing each feeling to appear and fade like reflections across still water. The sages taught that unease is not permanent, only a passing movement within the mind. As darkness deepens, his thoughts quiet, not fully silent, but softer, like the wide sky above. In ancient China, a scholar sits beside a fading lantern, its light warm and steady. Outside, bamboo leaves barely move in the still air. Inside, his mind drifts through faint worries and quiet uncertainties. His teacher once spoke of harmony between breath and spirit, of calm returning naturally when the mind is allowed to settle without force. He closes his eyes briefly, breathing slowly, and the tension within softens, like a distant echo fading into silence. Across Roman lands, evening settles over wide stone streets and quiet homes. A traveler rests beside a small fire, its glow gentle against the cool air. His journey has been long, and though he is safe, his mind continues its quiet wandering. Small worries, faint memories, the gentle hum of thought that never fully stops. Roman writers once described this as part of being human. Neither weakness nor flaw, only the natural motion of the inner world. He watches the fire dim slowly, and the unease becomes softer, blending into the calm of night. Across deserts, beneath vast Persian skies, stars shine clear and unmoving. A shepherd sits quietly among his resting flock, silence deep and wide around him. Within, he feels a subtle stirring, something between thought and feeling, difficult to name. Elders once spoke of the mind as a place where light and shadow move together, neither fixed nor permanent. He breathes slowly, listening to the stillness, and the unease becomes lighter, like mist dissolving beneath the promise of dawn. The night deepens, lamps grow dim, fires fade into soft embers. Across ancient lands, countless minds drift between rest and thought, between calm and unease, carried gently by the steady rhythm of time. There is no final stillness, no lasting answer. Only the quiet continuation of human awareness moving softly through darkness toward another morning. And so, in the endless calm of night, the ancient world continues to breathe, holding within it the gentle, familiar presence of the restless yet enduring human mind, drifting slowly, quietly onward.